is used to access lesson plans, to literally to check in for attendance, and a variety of other applications. They haven't deployed the iPad yet, but I'm sure that that'll happen. So why did they choose Extricom? Well, first off, there's a certain what you would call, I guess, ROI or cost effectiveness, or really future-proofing. Extricom, the nature of the channel blanket that Phil has described is it's a very flexible system, and essentially can support any wireless application that comes down the road. And wireless applications are evolving quite fast, so they needed something that they really were confident would give them a good multi-year life cycle where they could support you know, a variety of stuff at full performance, specifically streaming media, because this is something more and more that's being integrated into lesson plans, and they plan to use it extensively. So for that, they required 802.11n and the 802.11n range in order to provide a coverage area that would blanket the entire campus. Another issue is obviously capacity. Students are not like workers in an office that sit at nice, regularly spaced cubicles. They tend to run around campus carrying their iPod Touch or their laptop and collect together, clustered around a table with a bunch of people looking at the same thing, each on their individual device. So we needed to support heavy user densities, and this is an area where obviously the Extricom architecture comes to the fore, because if there's a capacity issue, it's simply a matter of putting in more access points to help increase capacity. So that was one of their criteria. And finally, there's a multi-use aspect. Like a lot of schools, Essa Academy functions as in effect a local convention center, and you know, for adult education or for things not related to education at all. And to do that, they needed to support a guest network that would give events there that had wireless, that you were using wireless, a good full performance environment. And so the layered WLAN, you know, the WLAN layers, they could dedicate one to to the guests, on the people who are non-students, and then separate out the student and staff networks. This case study is on our website, so if you want to read about it a little bit more, I would encourage everyone to go visit our website. And like a lot of people in the space, we've divided the website into by verticals. So there's an industry solutions section specifically on K-12, if that's an area you're interested in implementing in. So that was Essa Academy. Our next example is Texas State Technical College. TSTC is the largest community college system in the United States. All told, they have over 50,000 students in a variety of campuses, and this implementation took place at their Waco, Texas campus. They were looking to implement a really large-scale wireless LAN to provide connectivity for students anywhere on the core campus area, which is about a half-mile square. The actual campus itself is enormous. It's an Air Force Base, but there was a central green area, I guess you could call it, with classroom buildings and the like, and labs and stuff around it. And the student population is about 6,000 people, and at any one time they expected to support about 2,000 wireless devices. And like any higher educational environment where you have students, you have every application under the sun. iPhones, iTouches, a variety of stuff, Skype on laptops, et cetera, et cetera. They're printing and scheduling applications the faculty use, and then finally they're looking to create or to implement VoIP or WLAN phones for their admin staff. So why did they choose Extricom? Well, they needed to make sure that everyone got the bandwidth they needed wherever they needed it, because it's a very big campus and it's an enormous number of users. And this gets back to the aspect that Phil covered of the fact that the network resilience gives you the ability to ensure, because there's multiple APs listening to a particular wireless client, it makes sure that that wireless client gets the highest possible throughput. So that was one factor. The other was what Phil touched on about being flexible and being able to support a lot of 802.11 end clients, an increasing population, as well as a lot of BG legacy devices. So they created two separate networks on channel blankets, separate channel blankets, so that each one could have full performance and would not be impacted by the other. And finally, there's the issue of the lack of complexity. The fact that you don't have co-channel interference and don't have to do extensive RF channel surveys and then post-implementation channel tweaking makes Extricom a pretty simple solution to deploy. And I say that guardedly because anyone who's implemented an enterprise-class wireless system knows that they're not simple, but it's straightforward to deploy, and particularly 802.11n. With some of the issues Phil raised and that are very new, that was a concern. And what they found when they implemented our system is that it was not much more difficult to deploy than BG, and at the same time it gave them a level. There's a sort of set it and forget it level to the way that Extricom works once it's deployed, that it doesn't require a lot of administrative hands-on, and obviously when you're at college, the IT staff aren't at the same scale as, say, in a large Fortune 500 bank. So you've got tons of users and very few people to support them. You want a wireless LAN system that you don't have to spend a lot of time tweaking. So that was Texas State Technical College. Our next example is Palo Pinto Hospital, which is a not very large, it's a small county hospital district in Texas. So why are we citing this example? Well, the biggest trend, or one of the biggest trend in healthcare, in healthcare in general, is this move towards electronic medical records. It's a government mandate, and to move to an EMR environment, and it's encouraged with stimulus funds, a lot of stimulus funds. If you're familiar with the EMR, implementing EMR in healthcare, you know that there's 6 or 7 stages that have been defined by HIMSS for how far along you are in terms of your deployment, your implementation of EMR. 1 being the most rudimentary, and 7 being completely deployed. Palo Pinto is at stage 6, which is fairly remarkable for a hospital their size, and puts them in pretty select company. And the wireless system is a pretty critical part of the implementation of EMR. It allows nurses and doctors and other healthcare workers to move around the facility and have in near real-time access or real-time access to patient medical records, et cetera, et cetera. What this brought to the fore, though, is a need to really seamlessly handle both capacity and mobility. Nurses and doctors who were walking from room to room, but at the same time would often go back to workstations and would be clustered together. And it was a situation where, given the kind of applications they were supporting, you wanted them to have as much capacity as possible. The other issue is they needed a wireless